to our tutorial series. I'm Roly Poly Bird, and today we're going to talk about chunk loaders and start thinking about a survival mob switch. And this is going to be an easy tutorial. There's a few tutorials out there which are really detailed and set out all the Minecraft technical background to chunk loading and mob switches, but this one's going to be focused on survival players and getting it done easily. I'll put a link in the description to Ilmango's video and Nemon's video where they talk about chunk loading in more detail. Okay, so let's think about why we might want to load chunks. The main reason for keeping chunks loaded is that we can build farms that will run continuously without stopping when you leave the area. Or if we want to keep entities loaded on the server, then we can have a bunch of entities in loaded chunks somewhere in our world, and if those entities hit the mob cap, which is 70 for single players, and add another 70 on for every multiplayer on your server or in your home LAN, then if we keep 70 mobs loaded in the world somewhere, then that hits the mob cap and we shouldn't get any more hostile mobs spawning. The reason I want to do this is because I want to build a guardian farm, and I really hate going underwater with all those guardians. So if I can set up a mob switch somewhere to stop them spawning, then that'll help me build the farm without any issues. Okay, so let's think about how Minecraft does chunk loading. So around your world spawn point, that's where you first appear when you join the world, you've got an area of 12 by 12 chunks. Chunks are made up of 16 by 16 blocks where the world will always stay loaded. So you can build farms there or put redstone there and it will never stop working. So that's, in my world, that's where I've got my iron farm. If I had known about this chunk loading device before that, then I would have built my iron farm somewhere a bit further away from my world spawn point. So the game keeps the 12 by 12 chunks around the world spawn point loaded. And by the way, you can change your world spawn point by typing set world spawn and putting in coordinates. But then the game also follows players as they move through the world and loads chunks nearby. So if I'm moving through the world, pretend I'm in this green chunk in the middle, pretend each of these squares are chunks. So we've got me in the middle. The game will fully load the 3 by 3 square around me. It will partially load an extra chunk outside that 3 by 3. So this 4 by 4 will be partially loaded and will allow redstone to tick. So you can build farms that rely on redstone in these chunks and they won't stop working as long as this middle chunk is loaded. And then this orange layer, so an extra chunk again outside, so a 5 by 5 square is a lazy chunk, and then the lazy chunk redstone will stop ticking. Mobs will stop moving, but they'll stay loaded. So the secret to a mob switch is putting 70 mobs in a lazy chunk and then leaving the area so that they don't despawn when you move 128 blocks away. So first of all, let's take this a step at a time. First, we want to make sure we've got a chunk continually loaded in the middle before we think about our mob switch. And the way to load your chunk continually in the middle is to use a portable chunk loader, like this. So here we can see my chunk loader, and I've coloured in the chunks around it which will stay loaded. So this 3 by 3 square will stay loaded all the time. This pink square will stay loaded and redstone will tick in it. And this orange square will stay partially loaded and any mobs in that square will not disappear. So here's the chunk loader, and it's based on a design by Ilmango. You'll see his video linked in the description. So we're going to talk about how to build this and how to build the one on the nether side. So we've got an ether copper clock here with 19 items inside, so every 14.5 seconds it triggers this dispenser, which shoots out a minecart. The minecart goes through into the nether and loads the chunks on the other side of the portal. The contraption on the other side of the portal takes the minecart and shoots it back this way. We'll go and have a look at that in a second. So whenever an entity passes through a portal, the game will keep the other side of the portal loaded for 300 game ticks, or 15 seconds. So as long as we've got an entity passing both ways through the portal within that 15 seconds, then the game will keep these chunks, the chunks on this side loaded continuously, and the chunks in the nether loaded continuously. So you could build a farm in the nether if you wanted to as well. Maybe a honey block farm, which we'll get to in a different video. So let's go and have a quick look at the nether side. Okay, so here's our nether side contraption. Let's see how this works. The minecart's going to come in here. The cactus breaks it. The hoppers pass it back into the dispenser. As soon as it goes into the dispenser, this comparator triggers it to be popped back out and sent back through the portal. Okay, let's start off with where we want to position this. Ideally, for a mob switch, you want to find a mob spawner somewhere far away from your spawn points. Ideally, we want this built somewhere where we're never going to go back to on the overworld. We only ever want to travel to this and away from this in the nether. Because if we travel away from this in the overworld, the game still sees us getting 128 blocks away from any mobs over here, and we'll despawn them. So whenever we leave this area, we always want to do it from the nether side. So if you find a mob spawner far away from anywhere else in your world, then that's a great place to build it. Otherwise, we'll cover building a mob spawner ourselves in the next video in the series. So if you press F3 and G, you can see your chunk boundaries. So after I built this, I made a Lightmatica schematic for it, which we can have a look at here. I'll do another tutorial on how to use Lightmatica. The schematic download will be in the description. I'm not going to use this schematic to build in this video, but if you do have the schematic, it's easy to use it to build things, because you can always set up Lightmatica to simply let you pop in your pieces like this, and it's easy peasy. But we're not going to do that. We're actually going to build it properly. Okay. So let's get rid of our Lightmatica schematic. Okay, let's start with our portal. Let's build it inside, everything inside one chunk, so that we don't have to worry about anything breaking over chunk boundaries, which sometimes happens. Although this should stay loaded all the time, so nothing should break around that chunk boundary. Okay, so there's our portal template. We'll light it in a little bit. Let's stick a dispenser here. Need to keep it unlit because it's going to help us place our rails in a minute. Okay, let's place our powered rail. So let's see. Go. Now we can light it. There we go. So forgot to break out room underneath this for let's get our sand and cactus. You'll see how few resources this takes. This is super easy to build in survival. Okay, now we want to power our rails. Okay, we want our little hopper clock. Start off to across from the dispenser. So we're going to stick a torch beside it. An etho hopper clock, if you've never built one, is a super easy way to make a clock that is fairly accurate. We want a hopper, two hoppers that go into each other, and they pass an item or a stack of items back and forth. And by doing that, they shift the redstone block on top, and that way you can take a signal off it every time the block passes back and forth. So let's stick in a stack of 19. So maybe let's not forget to put our redstone block on first. There we go. So you'll see as the redstone block passes back and forth, it locks the hopper it's on top of. So you can see everything coming into this hopper, into the hopper that the redstone block's on top of, and out of the hopper that it's not on top of. When the block moves across, the comparator powers this block and turns on this torch, which triggers the dispenser. So while we're not expecting any mobs around here to break our stuff, we'll protect this a little bit anyway with some glass. This is more important in the nether, where you could get pigmen spawning and walking on top of your stuff. Okay, so before we put our minecart in, I'm going to go through to, I'm going to take the coordinates of your block here. So if you press F3, you can see up on the top left, looking at block 10,006, 56, 9,984. So divide all that by 8 to find out exactly where the same block needs to go in the nether. So after we get the coordinates of this block, we'll go through to the nether before we place our minecart, and we'll build the other side in the nether. Make sure the same corner block lines up with the appropriate coordinates. So once we've got this block's coordinates and divided by 8 to work out where the same corresponding block should be in the nether, we'll go through to the nether and build the nether side. Now we're not going to do that in this video, because once we go through this portal, it's going to take us out the nether side of this portal. So we'll build the nether side over here just to show you what it looks like and how it works. Okay, so let's assume we've gone through to the nether. Let's find the corresponding block. Build another portal the same size. Again, we'll not light it until we set up our rails. So let's put in our dispenser and hopper. Put down our powered rail now. There we go. We can put down our put down our sand and cactus. So coming out of this dispenser, we want a comparator to read every time there is something in the dispenser. There's a block here with a torch on the back. Another block above that. Another torch. Another block above that. And a block here. A repeater on 4 ticks. And that's pretty much us. No, actually, another block above there. And again, we'll cover with some glass in case any zombie pig men walk out on this. So let's cover that up. And we only need to power the rail on this side. Because when the minecart comes through, it'll break on the cactus, it'll go into the dispenser, and this comparator torch repeater system will power these rails and pop out the minecart. And that's it. Look how simple that is. In fact, I guess we need to light our portal. Look how simple that is. You build this, one in the overworld, one in the nether, and you have a stable chunk loader. Here we are actually building the nether side of the chunk loader in there. And that's it. Chunk loaders are actually a really easy build for something that's seen as quite an advanced technique to use when playing Minecraft. It's not that hard at all. I also just want to highlight an alternative way to build the nether side of this. For some reason, when I was building this in my creative world, every time I had this block here, the minecart would always come through from the overworld into this reel. It never broke and never got sent back through the dispenser. And no matter what I tried, every time I put this block here, which is needed for the repeater to pass the signal into, it just wouldn't work. Like this block, minecart would come in, break on the cactus, and then make its way back through. But without this block here, the signal can't get transferred down. So I worked out another way to build this, which worked 100% of the time. So first of all, let's keep our block here, so that when the minecart is dispensed, it knows to go in this direction. Then we don't want this switch. This switch can be added if you just want to turn this dispenser off, powered all the time. This chunk loader stops working if for whatever reason you want to do that. So what we want to do is stick our comparator this side, the dispenser, into a repeater on 4 ticks. That going into a block, and redstone torch on the back. Again, another block, that with the torch. Top of that. Then we want a block here, can carry our redstone there. Then another block, carry our redstone dust into the dispenser. So There we go. If for whatever reason your nether portal minecart return station doesn't work because the minecart keeps coming through here whenever you have a block in this position, then just build it like this instead. And as I said earlier, I'll have the schematics for this linked in the description so you can download it and use Lagmatica to this or to follow the schematic. It's easy to build. Okay, so I'm obviously in creative. So I just spawned in a normal dungeon mob spawner, a zombie one in this case. So let's wait until this spawns some zombies. Then this water funnel will funnel them down into the orange area and we can disappear through our portal. Go somewhere far away where the game would usually unload this area, and then we can come back and make sure that our mobs are still here to prove that our chunk loader is working. Okay, I think 4 zombies is enough. So we're far enough away from the mob spawner that it's not going to spawn anything else. Those 4 are the only 4 it should spawn. So if we leave this area through the portal, remember that we can't leave in the overworld because the game will still see us get 128 blocks away and despawn these guys. So we have to leave through the portal. Let's be careful we don't block the minecart. So now we're in the nether. Let's go around here, go far away. Oh! So if we go over here, I've got another nether portal set up, which when we go back to the overworld will take us about 4,000 blocks away from our mob spawner, our chunk loader. So here we are in the overworld. We are around 9,885, 12,750. Okay, so we're really far away. We're about 3,000 blocks away from our chunk loader. So the game should unload those chunks, in which case the zombies should despawn. So let's go back through and go back to our chunk loader and see if our zombies are still there. Again, let's try and not block the minecart. So we're back in the overworld, inside our chunk loader, so we should turn around and still see our 4 zombies in this orange layer. I'll prove these chunks were not unloaded. There we go, all 4 still there. So this means we could set up a mob switch with a dungeon mob spawner or with our own mob spawner by spawning 70 mobs, leaving them loaded in this orange layer, and then going off and working in the rest of our world, and we should get no more hostile mobs because the game knows there's 70 already loaded. Okay, thanks for watching this episode. Next episode we'll cover the rest of building the mob switch using either a dungeon spawner like this or building our own. I'm going to do it entirely redstone free, but I've got a nice redstone contraption for counting our mobs and switching off a dungeon spawner once we hit the right number of mobs. Okay, I've been Roly Poly Bird. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. One more thing to remember with this is that it will stop working if you restart your server or if you exit your single player game. So in order to get it working again, you just need to come back and visit it. and then exit through the nether. So make sure your server owner or your server mates are happy if you're going to be continually running this when you're not on the server, because it'll keep running even if you log off until the server's restarted or you come back and stop this hopper clock. And I just wanted to bring you here to my survival world to show you my chunk loader in action. So this is the overworld side of the chunk loader, and let's go and have a look. So it's the same design we just went over, and you can see that the minecart pops out of this dispenser every time the etho hopper clock ticks and goes through, then comes back from the nether and breaks, and then it's gonna get popped out back through the portal again. So it keeps the chunks on the other side of the portal loaded, and when I leave this area it keeps these chunks loaded. And we'll get onto this in the next video, but the reason for this is so that my mob switch can work. And I mean, I've gone a bit overboard here and found this mob spawner and decorated the whole place. So this is a zombie mob spawner. Whenever I turn the lights off, the zombies start spawning, and the zombies get funneled up through this soul sand water elevator and get dropped down into one of these mob counters. So with a golden pressure plate, every 15 mobs closes off this chamber, turns on the redstone lamp, and we've got 5 of these. So once this is all filled up, I've got 75 mobs, and 75 mobs, that's pretty much the whole mob cap used, and that means we can go anywhere in our world without any hostile mobs spawning. And if we don't want any, or if we want hostile mobs back again, for example, if we have, say, a creeper farm or a guardian farm want to work, just come in and kill off all these zombies with this lava. So there we go. Turn it off again, and the zombies will keep filling up these chambers while the lights are off and the mob spawner's active. So we'll get into the details of the mob spawner and building a mob farm if you can't find the mob spawner, and even building these mob counters in the next video. And one important thing to note with the chunk loader is you can't leave this area in the overworld, because then we get 128 blocks away from these guys and they despawn. So if we're leaving this area, we need to leave through the portal. That means this place will stay loaded. So let's get out of here and we'll look at the nether side of the chunk loader. So here we are in the nether, and here's the nether side of the chunk loader. So this is version 2 of the chunk loader. Remember I showed you a couple of versions. So this is the version with the dispenser activation on this side instead of behind it. This was because whenever I put a block up here, for some reason it stopped working and the minecart would always come through in the wrong position. So the minecart comes through from the overworld chunk loader, breaks on the cactus, gets popped out by the dispenser. This happens every 14-ish seconds with 19 entities in the etho hopper clock, and keeps these chunks loaded, but more importantly the overworld chunks with our mob spawner loaded. Thanks for watching, that's all from me today. In the next video we'll cover the actual mob spawners and the mob switch and the mechanics of that, and we'll take a look at how the mob switch is working in my survival world here. Catch you next time.